1. You will hear a woman gathering information from a local resident about transport options in his area. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, my name's Lisa Green. I'm in my second year of university studying economics. I have an assignment for my advertising module, and I need to ask a few people some questions about their local transport system. Could you help me with that?
Sure.
Sorry to bother you in the evening, but it's been difficult finding time during the day.
That's all right, as long as it doesn't take too long.
No, it'll be quick. First, I just need to check a few personal details.
No problem.
Okay, I have your first name as Daniel. Could you give me your full name?
Yes, it's Daniel Moore.
Is that Moore?
Exactly.
Great, thanks. Can I get your contact number?
Sure, it's 782-6438.
782-6436.
No, it's 6438.
Got it. Thank you. And your address?
I live at 14 River Street in Eastwood.
Oh, yes, I know that neighborhood. It's really lovely.
Yes, it's quite peaceful.
Okay. And what's your occupation?
I'm employed at an insurance company in the downtown area.
That must be quite interesting.
Yes, it's a good job.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Now, I'd like to ask you a bit about the city's bus system. Do you live close to your office?
No, I stay near the city edge, so I have to commute every day.
How do you usually get to work?
I don't use the bus for work. I usually take my motorcycle. I only travel by bus when I'm going shopping for things like groceries or clothes.
Got it. So would you say the bus service is satisfactory?
It's all right, but most buses are pretty full, especially during the early and late hours. It's tough to get a seat.
Yes, I've heard that from others as well. How do you think the service could be improved?
I think more buses should run during the peak times. That would help a lot.
Now, let's talk a bit about cycling. Do you own a bicycle?
Yes, I do. I cycle quite a bit, mostly over the weekends.
And what's your opinion of the cycling lanes in the city? Do you think they're sufficient?
Not at all. There are barely any cycling paths in the city. They really need to create more, because biking's a great transport option. It's way better than using a car, especially when traveling short distances. Plus, it doesn't cause pollution.
Absolutely. Are there any other facilities for cyclists that you think could be improved?
Yes, definitely. More cycle lanes would be great, and they should also make a map to show the safest and most efficient bike routes around the city. That would really help.
That's a useful suggestion. Now, what about walking? Would you say the city is good for pedestrians?
Not very. I think they should put in more crossings for pedestrians, and it might be a good idea to turn some of the crowded areas into pedestrian-only zones. That would make walking safer and more enjoyable.
I agree. Just one final question. What's the cost of a monthly bus pass here?
It's $52 per month. I think that's a little high for some people.
I see. Well, thanks a lot for your time.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.
That is the end of Part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 1. Part 2. You will hear a speaker discussing how the invention of personal vehicles has shaped transport, cities, and environmental concerns over time. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to today's session on one of the most influential breakthroughs in modern life, the personal vehicle. But before we get into that, let's go back even further. The invention of the wheel marked a huge step in how transport worked, making it possible to design carts and carriages. It changed how both people and goods were moved, and was clearly a major improvement centuries ago. Some may say the most significant progress came later with industrial transportation, but the wheel laid the groundwork for all movement technologies we have today. Now, fast forward to the start of the 20th century when motor vehicles became the top method of travel. During that time, cars quickly replaced older systems like animal-drawn wagons and two-wheeled cycles. Cars weren't just popular, they actually pushed out many of the previous ways people used to get around. Some believe what made them special was the technical design, but it was really the fact that they replaced so many older modes that gave them their real power. You might wonder how this topic fits into our full lecture series. Today's talk is a continuation of a previous session I gave on transport, where I covered historical shifts in how travel evolved. This part focuses mainly on cars, their growth, and their effects. Although some listeners might expect us to look at worldwide transport options, we are actually narrowing in on one vital element: the expansion and impact of personal automobiles. One of the biggest problems we face today in towns and cities is serious overcrowding on the roads. With more vehicles than ever, traffic delays are now an everyday problem, often causing long waits and high stress levels. Though money issues and safety are also common worries, the most immediate trouble is clearly the overcrowded streets. While some people argue that fuel costs are the biggest issue and others focus more on accident risks, the actual number of vehicles in busy areas causes the worst difficulties. Now, let's talk about how cars affect the Earth. Many say that newer models are stronger and more energy efficient than the older ones. However, the more urgent concern is their effect on the planet's health. Think about a large cargo ship transporting oil across oceans. That's just one example of how car-related pollution harms nature globally. Some say that newer cars aren't as polluting, while others believe the real issue lies in how cars are built. Either way, the carbon emissions from vehicles remain a big global threat.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
As we deal with the problems caused by growing car usage, it's important to look at solutions that could reduce our need for cars in cities. One smart idea is to create special areas where vehicles are not allowed, giving more room to walkers and bike users. This could cut down on dangerous fumes and make city air cleaner. When we set up these zones, we lower car pollution and make towns more pleasant and safer to live in. Another concern is the price and supply of fuel. Many people think reducing fuel prices would help ease the pressure on drivers, but the real solution may be to offer more types of clean and renewable energy. If we give people choices like solar-powered charging or plant-based fuels, the demand for petrol and diesel could go down. This would help create a greener way of getting around. Sharing rides is also a simple but smart fix for traffic problems. Getting people to travel together instead of taking separate cars means fewer vehicles clogging the roads. That leads to less damage to the roads and also brings down the total cost of travel, making transport easier on everyone's wallet. An issue we often forget about is how job timings affect road use. If businesses gave workers flexible hours, fewer people would be driving during the same rush periods. This would mean smoother traffic and shorter trips, helping both everyday drivers and city transport managers. By spreading travel out across the day, cities can cut down on bottlenecks and make commuting less frustrating. Lastly, improving public travel options is key if we want people to stop using personal cars so much. Better trains and buses with more reliable schedules and comfortable rides would encourage people to use them more often. Also, if we fix problems like loud traffic noises, public transport would feel more peaceful, making even more people choose it instead of driving. By using all these strategies, city governments can make big progress toward cleaner, faster, and more balanced travel. That way, both the community and the planet benefit in the long run.
That is the end of part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 2. Part 3. You will hear 2 students discussing different part-time job options and their future career plans. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen and answer questions 21 to 26.
So, Oliver, have you given any more thought to picking up a part-time job? I was checking out a few choices, and there's actually quite a variety available.
Yeah, I have. I think working in a cafe could be a good idea. You meet lots of people, and some places even give staff free drinks or meals, which is a great bonus.
That's true, but I heard cafe jobs can be tiring, especially during weekends. You're constantly moving around, serving tables, and handling orders.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think about delivering food? A couple of my classmates do it, and they earn pretty decent money through tips.
I considered that too, but I imagine it can be super hectic, especially during peak hours. And not everyone tips well. Plus, dealing with traffic or the weather can be frustrating.
Good point. Have you thought about pet sitting? It pays all right, and if the pets are calm, it's not too stressful.
Yeah, but it really depends on the pets. Some dogs are impossible to manage. You might get one that barks nonstop or a cat that scratches everything in sight. And you have to be very alert. What if they get sick or if they run out the front door? It's a big responsibility.
That's why I think online gigs are a better option, like doing surveys or virtual assistants. You can stay home and decide your own hours.
That sounds appealing, but don't you need a portfolio or something?
Not necessarily. You can start with basic tasks, like editing short videos or helping with email responses. There are plenty of beginner-friendly websites out there.
That's good to know. What about coaching? I know people who help kids with science or history and get paid well.
Coaching is a great choice, especially if you're good at explaining things like complex theories or tricky grammar rules. It also makes your application stronger for graduate school.
That's true. So, what are you planning to go with?
I'm leaning towards freelancing or tutoring. What about you?
I might start with cafe work and see how I manage. If it's too exhausting, I could try tutoring next.
Sounds like a good plan. Let's see how things turn out in a few months.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
So, Oliver, have you given any more thought to what you'll do once university ends? Or are you thinking about doing another year?
No, I'll be finishing up this year. I've secured a spot on a corporate finance internship at an investment firm. I'm really excited about it.
Congratulations! I was nervous about finding anything after graduating, especially with the way the job market is. So, do you think you'll stay in that company long term?
That's the plan. I'm hoping to work my way up to a leadership position. I recently read this article about how having a long-term vision for your career really helps you stay focused, even at the beginning. What about you? Got any ideas?
I'm still figuring it out. I did get accepted into a course I love to join. It's a professional guide certification that covers tourism operations like hospitality, itinerary planning, and customer relations. I'd love to take it, but it's based in Singapore.
You should definitely go for it. It's the kind of thing you might never get a second shot at. But yeah, maybe sort out the paperwork first. You won't be allowed past immigration without it.
Thankfully, I can apply for a study visa, and it usually only takes a couple of days. Singapore is known for its efficient system. What I'm more concerned about is the driving permit. I've been delaying it, but someone told me I'll need an international one to drive there.
Don't stress about it. Most people there just use the MRT. Plus, owning a car is super pricey, so hardly anyone drives anyway. When does your course begin?
Next August.
That's perfect. You'll have plenty of time to finish your degree. That should definitely be your top priority right now.
You're right. I better hit the books for my finals. Talk soon.
That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 3. Part 4. You will hear a lecture by a doctor explaining the discovery and growing challenges of antibiotic use. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Green, and today I'll be speaking to you about antibiotics. These are medications used specifically to treat infections caused by bacteria. They're often referred to as antibacterials. Their role is to either kill the bacteria directly or stop them from multiplying, which helps prevent illnesses or a weakened immune system. This allows the body's natural defenses to combat the infection more effectively. Conditions like tuberculosis and pneumonia are examples of illnesses that are commonly treated with antibiotics. The very first antibiotic discovered was penicillin, which was found by Alexander Fleming in 1928. While conducting experiments in his lab and growing bacteria in petri dishes, he noticed one of the dishes had become contaminated with a fungus. Around this fungus, the bacteria were dying off. Curious, he ran some tests and discovered the fungus was producing something that destroyed the bacteria. He named the substance penicillin, marking the beginning of antibiotic treatment. Although Fleming published his findings in 1929, producing penicillin in bulk was extremely difficult at that time, and his work didn't get much attention. Then, in 1938, two Oxford scientists, Howard Florey and Ernst Chain, read Fleming's paper and decided to investigate further. Their first step was to obtain the fungus that produced penicillin, so they contacted Fleming, who sent them a sample. They succeeded in making enough penicillin to conduct experiments on mice. They infected all the mice with bacteria and gave penicillin to half of them. The treated mice survived, while the untreated ones died. Florey and Chain wanted to move on to human testing, but the supply of penicillin was still very limited. They managed to treat one man with a severe infection, and he started to improve, but once the penicillin ran out, he sadly passed away. Still, their trials showed that penicillin could be used for treating human infections. Florey realized that mass production would require the support of a pharmaceutical company. He went to the United States in search of assistance and eventually persuaded a company called Merck to begin manufacturing penicillin. By 1941, they had produced enough to run tests on a small group of patients. The results were promising, but they still didn't have the volume needed for wide-scale treatment. Then, in December 1941, the U.S. joined the Second World War. The government recognized that penicillin could help treat wounded soldiers, so they provided funding allowing Florey and Chain to collaborate with more companies. By 1944, there was enough penicillin available to treat every injured soldier involved in the D-Day invasion of Europe. Penicillin's success paved the way for the creation of many new antibiotics. However, two major issues persist. First, antibiotics are ineffective against viruses, so they don't work for illnesses like the common cold or flu. Second, bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics, particularly when they're overused or when people stop taking them before completing the prescribed course, usually 5 to 7 days. When that happens, some bacteria can survive in the body and adapt, rendering the medication less effective without the person even realizing it. Scientists today continue to work on developing new antibiotics to combat resistant bacteria, but this process is extremely slow. Some bacterial infections have already become untreatable with existing antibiotics. This is a serious global concern, and it highlights the need for antibiotics to be used responsibly and only when necessary. Creating new antibiotics is a long and complex process. Researchers must first find new chemical compounds that have antibacterial effects. Then, these compounds undergo thorough testing to check their strength against bacteria and to ensure their safety for people. This can take years or even decades and requires a large financial investment. Even when a new antibiotic is approved, it may become quickly ineffective as bacteria evolve to resist it. This creates a constant arms race between bacteria and scientists who have to work tirelessly to solve new rising issues. The World Health Organization, or WHO, has made it clear that antibiotic resistance is one of the biggest threats to global health today. It's a crisis that risks undoing years of progress in medical science and endangering millions of lives. This isn't a problem we might face in the future. It's already happening around us now. That's all I have for you today on the topic of antibiotics. Are there any questions?
That is the end of part 4.